Hi, welcome to Everbox Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is one of the new ones that I've chosen for this series. It's Saxon's 2004 album Lionheart, released today, September 20th, 2004. So it's 20 years old. So a little bit of story with this. I'd kind of zoned out of Saxon after the Innocence Is No Excuse and Rock the Nations albums. My brother bought those. I liked Innocence Is No Excuse, quite like some Rock the Nations, and then after that I didn't bother. So I was kind of aware of them putting out albums still in the 90s, but like a lot of people, I kind of zoned away from what was happening in metal a bit at that time. Not because I got into 90s music, I should say. Later on, early in the noughties, a mate of mine bought a Saxon kind of video chronicles thing in a red packaging, which is really fun to watch. It's great seeing all the old clips on top of the pops. Now, of course, we just go on YouTube and they're there, but this was in the sort of 5 years prior to YouTube becoming popular. But it also had a video on for a song called Unleash the Beast, and Saxon were up on a hill rocking away. It was a very low budget video, and I was kind of like, at first I thought, I kind of thought it was a bit funny, they're up on the hill, and I was kind of like, the song Unleash the Beast, it's a bit cheesy. But it kind of stuck with me, and then, later on I guess I was like, actually that song's really catchy, but also Saxon, it's cool, they're still doing it. They've gone up a hill, they're on a low budget, and they're still rocking, and they've still got a fan base, which was proved by watching the Wacken live DVD that you got with the double disc we bought. So around about 2004, I went into HMV. At that time, they had like a listening post where you could put albums on. You could just unwrap the CD. Again, this is in the time when people were still buying CDs before streaming. So I unwrapped, one album I unwrapped was My Religion by TNT, and that was a very pleasant surprise. I thought the heavens had opened. And I put on some of Lionheart, and I wasn't too fussed really with the opening track, but a friend of mine copied it for me anyway. So I gave it a listen or two, and I really started to get into it. I was really getting back into the trad metal sound, Dio, Rob Halford, pop metal as well, TNT. What struck me was like how good the production was, how tight the band sounded, how good Biff sounded, but the quality of the songs that showed through. And as I've sort of gone along with the album, there's almost a slightly conceptual sort of element to it. It's Saxon firmly sort of planting their stake in the English heritage ground. So it's produced by Charlie Burfind, who's a great producer. He did Hammerfall's albums in the early noughties. Chapter 5 albums sounds particularly good. He also did some other Saxons. He did a Metalhead album. Not sure what he's doing now. He did a lot of Primal Fear as well, but sort of before Andy Sneap, really, because Andy Sneap was more involved in kind of thrash and more extreme metal. To me, he was like the sort of top traditional metal producer, basically working with traditional bands but putting a modern spin on it, along with like a guy like Fredrik Nordstrom as well, with things like Firewind. So the album opens up with Witchfinder General. I think it's a testament to the album that I think this is the weakest track. It's 4 minutes 49. It's quite heavy. Lyrics are good fun. If you love the film Matthew Hopkins' Witchfinder General, which I do, you'll find a lot of fun with the lyrics. It's pretty heavy. It's got really a kind of really lower fifth in the chords with sliding riff, quite thrashy, pummeling double bass drums. I've got to say the guitar solo is not very good. I think Doug Scarrett does it. He seems to be searching for an idea to me. It's a good track, but not great, but I do enjoy it. And then the album really takes off with the track Man and Machine. So this is classic Biff. This is about Donald Campbell's Water Speed record of Coniston. So I was born near Kendal, so it's quite interesting to me. That's part of kind of modern folklore in Cumbria. If you go up to Coniston, there's a lot of Bluebird memorabilia. People, died for the boat and so on. Quite a lot of stories about Campbell and so on. So this is a great track. It's you can hear this isn't shy, the production on this album. It's got a big reverb on the snare. I remember doing an album myself and taking it in the studio and going, I like the sound of this. And also taking the Hammerfall album, for Chapter 5, I think it was the track Bloodbound, or no, Templar Flame. And like they had very enlarged snares, but I like that. A big snare's okay if it's a good sound. It's quite heavily compressed, but guitars are really tight on this. Biff's great. 3 minutes 28, great. Then you've got the return. This is an evocative instrumental piece that takes the main theme of the next track, the title track Lionheart. So it's just keyboards, clean guitars, works really well. There's another short piece on this album, which we'll come to that. So in reality, the album's actually only got 9 real tracks on it. And the quality, you know, it's not a case of more the merrier for me. I like albums, I just need what I need. This album's 45 minutes, so, you know, they didn't need to write or provide any more music for this. Then it goes to the title track, Lionheart. This is great. Again, really good lyric by Biff. It's talking about Richard the Lionheart. It's evoking Richard the Lionheart coming back, you know, coming back to the town, the village, you know, light up your flames, you know, the king's returning. This is what Biff does very well, takes historical things, particularly from English history, and puts them into lyrics, and it creates this very British Union Jack flag of St George style metal that Saxon's renowned for. Saxon hadn't really touched base with this for a while until this album. I think this was Saxon, this was the beginning of them coming back to Britain. We'll come to that in a bit. This is a great track. Then you got Beyond the Grave. This is good. Probably, you know, not as strong as the previous track, but it's still really good. It's got an interesting, really cool riff, and it's got an interesting 6/4 time signature on the bridge. Then you've got Justice. This is an excellent riff, really cool, rolling, digga riff. Really like Biff's lyrics. Again, moving away from sort of British modern and past history, but you know, still fitting with the themes. When you think of Magna Carta and, you know, democracy and legal things. Really good track. Good solo on this. Good middle section. Good crunchy riffing. Then you've got To Live by the Sword. So this is taking the idea of Samurai Ronin. So different history, but again keeping in with that battle power metal theme, I guess. 4 minutes 10. Really nice rolling riff on this. Really melodic. Works really well. Then the next track's really unique, I think. It's a track called Jack Tars. So they've, I'm not sure what Jack Tars is slang for in Navy terms, but there's kind of a classical guitar playing in a sort of acoustic, folky style. And Biff just sings a kind of little lament about Jack Tars, and it just works really well. Really unique piece of music. And then it goes into English Man of War. This is really grew on with this track. This track I always liked, but you know, it might be my favourite track on the album now. It's great. It is about brigands, you know, it's about if you say Master and Commander with Russell Crowe, this perfectly, you know, this the lyric to this, I imagine that's maybe inspired Biff, but it's you know, the English Man of War, at ships, out fighting. Superb. I love the sort of evocation with the lyrics, and then when it goes into the chorus, it's just properly heavy, and it's properly, you know, you've got to have conviction to pull off lyrics and subjects like this, and the band pulls it off. Now, on the original CD, on one of the CDs, you only got 10 tracks, so track 10 was Flying on the Edge, but or the copy I got, but when I got the actual CD, track 10 is Searching for Atlantis. So again, breaking sort of away from the typical themes of the album, but this is a really good melodic track about the, you know, the mythical Atlantis. Got a good riff, you know, there's a lot of good rolling and type riffs on this album. But again, bringing some of the thrash type rhythms, but putting them into a contemporary sort of modern New Wobbin way. Another really good track, excellent solo from Paul Quinn on this. And then it finishes with Flying on the Edge. This is another classic kind of Saxon lyric. Again, just a more contemporary thing. It's about missing a flight or being late for your flight, or the flight being postponed, going to a gig. It's one of Biff's story lyrics, so it fits in with things like Midnight Rider and the band's played on, Denim and Leather. It's really good. It's got a really crunchy, I think it might be D standard, drum sound massive on this. Really good, nice groove. Not a bad track on this album, excellent production. You know, where does it differ from the Saxon of the past? Well, it's got a contemporary sound. It is more power metal, but the band were bringing back those British themes into lyrics, those English themes. Now, the next album, In the Sanctum, they did a Get Your Act Together thing, a TV show with Harvey Goldsmith on Channel 4. This got them, you know, even though it was a cheesy program, it got them traction and noticed again. So in this country, people tend to talk up In the Sanctum more, which I think is a 6 out of 10. But this album and the 3 albums before are much better. And it wasn't until recently that I thought they equalled or got close to this album with their Carpe Diem album, which again actually has lots of English history style lyrics. But they haven't made a bad album. I don't think Saxon ever made a bad album. When they reach 25 studio albums, which I hope they do, the original studio albums, they've already done 25 because they've done their covers albums. But when they do, I will do a ranking of their albums. But even their albums that people don't think are that good, like Destiny or Forever Free and stuff, they've always got something on there. So you've got to admire the band. But this, where would I put this album in the sort of Lexington Saxon? Well, you've got, obviously those early albums have those classic tracks, and when bands release new albums, it's hard for them to establish a classic track because of the nature of live and the nature of time. But for me, I mean, it easily be their fifth best album. So, your Wheels Are Still Strong on, Dead and Alive, Power and Glory, and this. People can argue the toss on which of those is better. Wheels of Steel will always be my favourite because of the time it came out and so on. But, on some days I put this second, on other days I might put it third or fourth. I don't know. But with the Carpe Diem album, that would, those other albums mentioned in this would make my top six. The ones before, Killing Grounds and Metalhead and Unleash the Beast are also really good records. But this kind of just, it's kind of them hitting a sweet spot. After once they got Doug Scarrett in, it's taken them a while just to kind of get their ultimate groove and to find on this. The only sad thing on this, the drums are really good by Georg Michael. Unfortunately, Nigel Glockler doesn't play on this. I don't know why he wasn't in the band, as Fritz Rando was in them for a bit. He was in on the Killing Ground, the previous album, Metalhead. That's Fritz Rando as well, so he's actually in them quite a while. I think Nigel Glockler is on Unleash the Beast. He is. So Nigel Glockler was on Unleash the Beast in '97. He didn't do Metalhead. He didn't do Killing Ground. He didn't do Lionheart. I'm not sure why. I don't know if he had some personal issues, health issues, whatever. So the drums are great. It just would have been lovely if Nigel Glockler was on it for that kind of, that bit of synergy. But that's my review, 20 Years Old Today. If you've not heard this album, I strongly recommend you check it out. If you've sort of zoned away from Saxon, get Carpe Diem, get this album, get it up on YouTube. They're excellent modern takes on the traditional metal sound with the influence of sort of European 90s power metal. So yeah, Lionheart, 20 Years Old Today. Thank you for checking out this review. And remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again. Thank you very much.